Hello, hello. I'm so happy that you are back here with us at the Unplanned Mom School podcast. Oh my gosh. For those of you that don't know where I live, where I'm located, I'm actually out of St. Louis and I am a radio guest now weekly. So I am leaving the radio show. It's driving, it's raining. My podcast hosting, I can do it from my phone. So I just really feel compelled to catch up, talk to you, because I've gotten lots of messages lately in particular, and it's kind of really kind of tying into some of the topics that we were talking about on the radio today, and just bringing everybody back, especially if you are facing an unplanned pregnancy. So I'm going to go in and just kind of like share about my feelings, because as you guys have been writing me and I'm listening and just hearing stories about your feelings, it brings me back to, of course, my first unplanned pregnancy and just all of the emotions that go into it, the anxiety, the feeling of overwhelm, uncertainty, just complete disruption to your life. It's something that it's a moment in time that will stay with you forever. It's one of these events you're never going to forget where you're at when you find out you're pregnant. It's kind of like, I can relate it to, any big major world event. It's up there in the top, when I can remember exactly where I was standing when the World Trade Center was hit. Different catastrophic things that have happened in life. Now, I'm not saying that our pregnancies are catastrophic. I am saying that it's definitely a period in our life. It's a bookend, essentially. You're closing one chapter to before you found out that you were pregnant, and then you're opening, you're starting a new chapter, and it's almost kind of like a choose your adventure. When you find out that you're pregnant, and there's one person in particular that I have been communicating with and has reached out after watching some of my videos on TikTok, and has really just had this roller coaster of a journey. And for her, she never thought that she could be pregnant. I can relate to that as well. So she never thought she could be pregnant, got divorced. She's in this new relationship. The partner isn't quite sure that he wanted to have more children, and lo and behold, that they are pregnant, and she's in this feeling of just, really unsure what to do, because a lot of her close friends and family don't approve of this new relationship. And so she's just in, kind of in this turmoil and trying to figure out what it is that she needs to do and figure out exactly what's best for her. And so that's what our communication has really just been centered around. And whenever I do start working and talking to people, and this is really applicable to anything that, that we're going through in life, and it's really heavy. And so I think first and foremost, we have to acknowledge that our hormones, they're already different. Your hormone balance, your levels are already much different than what your body is used to. And so, bear in mind that give yourself grace, because your hormones definitely play a part in your emotions, the feelings that you have. And the good news is, the feeling that you're going to have within the first, minute, hour, days after you find out that you are unexpectedly pregnant, they're going to change. They may intensify, they may get a lot worse. You might have feelings of excitement mixed with some really deep feelings of deep sadness as you are embarking on this journey. And that's perfectly fine, and that's perfectly normal. And I think the biggest thing that I would remind you, if you're going through a similar situation, is to simply try to just pause. Just pause. I look back from the moment that I found out that I was pregnant, and my brain went into overdrive. And of course, I'm upset. I'm not in the best relationship. I'm really quite unsure about my relationship and the relationship status, let alone, I hadn't even started my career. So it was just, I'm like playing out all of these different scenarios and how it was going to work. But the one thing I can tell you that I knew before I found out that I was pregnant, that I was going to finish college, because I was the first person in my family to go to school. So there's probably something that's in your life that's already it's a non-negotiable for you. Maybe it is finishing school. Maybe it's staying in a job for a certain amount of time. Maybe it's living in a certain area for a certain amount of time. Whatever it is, you know what it is. You know what your non-negotiable is. And so that it doesn't, you're not going to have to give it up necessarily. You're going to just have to learn how to pivot and just make a new game plan. So how that looked for me is eventually when that initial shock, uh, anger, all of the feelings, came to bubbling up for me, and just processing what was actually happening, and that I was going to be having a baby. My non-negotiable was that I was going to finish school no matter what. And so at the time, my first plan was I'll just finish. I'm going to stay there. I will have the baby in daycare or have the baby with me, but I was going to stay. And I at the time was going to school a couple hours away from family. Now I know I was fortunate enough to have family that was able and willing to help me. And not everybody has those options, but there are many, many options available to you should you decide to keep your baby, no matter what age you are. Financial resources, there are things available to help you. Now, will your lifestyle or things have to change? Absolutely. Hands down, yes. So even if you are rocking and rolling and you're in your career, things are going to change and they're going to look different from you from this point on. So coming here and listening to this, I'm not going to tell you that your life is going to stay the same. And I'm not going to encourage you to do something that's completely unnatural and what God has designed for you and your baby. What I want here in the Unplanned Mom School is for you to understand that your feelings are completely valid. Whatever they are valid. And when we stop and we give ourselves a moment to just simply process and just take a breather and try to really reconnect with God and figuring out what it is that God is telling you to do and what your next steps are and how you are going to make a roadmap for your non-negotiable and really get clear on, just the changes that you are going to have to make. You will have to make changes. And so I know that change can often be hard, but as we know, change is the absolute only constant in life. It's always changing. It's always ebb and flowing. There's always up and down moments. Now, for me, when I was younger, I was 21 when I found out that I was pregnant, and I hadn't had a lot of life experience to really understand that part. And now, as I am, in my late 30s, I definitely see how life can ebb and flow. And believe me, you think you're kind of smooth sailing and things are kind of going great, but life just has a way of just happening and getting to a place where you can learn how to essentially ride the wave. I think I was reading a book not that long ago, or maybe in a group with some ladies and talking about that. But really, when we get to a good place with our connection with God, that's really where we're riding the waves. We're not trying to resist. We're not trying to swim against a current. We're not trying to just completely roll and just drown and be adrift and not know exactly where we're going. But to just imagine yourself, you're sitting on a surfboard. I've never been on a surfboard in my life, or maybe it's a paddleboard, whatever it is, or a raft. Just imagine yourself, you're on a beach where there's some waves, and sometimes those waves come in pretty hot and heavy, and sometimes they're pretty slow, but you're not going to tip over if you're sitting and you're steady and you're balanced. Basically, if your body is balanced on whatever it is that you're floating on, you're not going to fall off. It's going to be a lot harder for you to fall off. And so what I am striving and what I am teaching when I'm working with women and just encouraging women is to find that balance. So to find that balance that is needed for you to basically just kind of have that buoy, to have that connection within yourself, ultimately up to God. And so figuring out exactly what it is that you need to do and what's going to be best for you. So, I go back to this new person that I'm going to be working with, and, she's got external family members, which play, our relationships play a huge, key, vital part in our lives. And so, of course, we have a natural inclination to keep those relationships going and steady, if you will, or maybe not rock the boat if you are a recovering or a current people pleaser. It's really hard to think about disapproving somebody. But at the end of the day, the only person that you need approval from is God, yourself. You probably want to have the approval from God. And when we are seeking really just approval from God, it makes life so much easier, and we're so much more able to make decisions and be in balance and be in a place that's much steadier, even when we're writing things out in a crazy storm such as an unplanned pregnancy. So if you are listening to this and you've recently found out that you were pregnant, and you're in the storm right now, you really are, you're in the thick of things, you're looking for a life vest, you're trying to figure things out, the biggest thing and the best thing that you can do is to find a way to center and ground yourself. For me, it's somehow being out in nature. Now I'm in Missouri right now. The weather's kind of yucky. It's really hard to be outside. It may be reading. It may be lighting a candle, trying to just sit for a few minutes and just be still. But I think activity in general helps unlocking things. So if you can't go outside and you can't get any fresh air and move, try to go to a gym. Go walk around even. For me, I have found it's super helpful and relaxing to even just go walk in a store, walk on a mall, walk around a big store. Just go and do something by yourself. Be by yourself, because it's when you're alone, you're driving in the car perhaps, you're going to start to let God speak to you. You're going to let this feeling of peace just kind of start to enter into your mind as you start to make decisions and figuring out what is best for you. So I hope that this was helpful for you. If you aren't following us along yet on TikTok, I highly recommend that you come over to TikTok or even Instagram and search for the Unplanned Mom School. There's always new content, fresh things out there to just kind of help inspire you. The DM is always open, and you're welcome to send a message to me as well, or the team, and it will get to me. I love hearing from you guys. I'm loving hearing how the Unplanned Mom School is impacting people, because it's not only helping moms, well, it's primarily helping moms, but there are women that are listening and following along on social and messaging me and telling me how what I'm saying is resonating with them. And so that just, it lights me up. I know that there's women that are starting nonprofits. There are women that are making major shifts in their careers, really just figuring out what it is that they want to do. And we're in such a pivotal time in our history where there's a lot of us that are in this mode of transition and really figuring out what it is that God wants for us. So if you are, looking for extra help and support in that area at all, be sure to reach out to me. I've got different offerings now, different levels and packages as I am working with folks. And it's really just it's been remarkable. I'm working with women that have already had their unplanned pregnancy. They're moving on. It's, helping them with any marketing things, really just figuring out, what career moves that they need to make. Just having that sounding board. And for me, I can tell you that coaching has hands down changed my life 120%. I mean, I'm throwing the number out there because I want it to be over 100, but it's been astronomical. And so, for me, I was in counseling. I'm taking a break from counseling in full transparency right now, but I'm still being coached. And so, but for me, and even as I'm working with women, we're all about looking into the future. Counseling is going to be looking back. You're going to be looking in the back, like in your rearview mirror, and looking at how you're processing and how your past has perhaps blocked you or inhibited you in any way, but just you're working through those things that are impacting your day-to-day. But coaching is really kind of just getting that that big picture, really making those mindset shifts, and ultimately goal setting and being held accountable to somebody else that is really in your back pocket to cheer you on, validate you, encourage you, listen to you. Because when we are in these moments in our life where we are trying to make changes and break out of what people are used to looking at us as. So maybe you are going through your unplanned pregnancy, and you're used to people looking at you a certain way, and they're going to just probably, you feel like they're going to think you're absolutely crazy for keeping a baby and having the baby, or whatever the case may be. The Unplanned Mom School is building out resources and just a library and a slew of things to just ultimately support you. And so I think the biggest thing that you get is just a safe space to be heard and understood from people that aren't in your inner circle as you are working on making these changes or preparing yourself for motherhood or unplanned motherhood, or just unplanned life in general. So anyways, I'm going to keep this short. I am still driving. It's going on 16 minutes. I was hoping to keep this to about 10 minutes. So I just love being with you. I cannot thank you enough for being a listener of the Unplanned Mom School. So again, if you aren't following us along on social, be sure to do that. And I also have a goals and habit tracker. So if you haven't downloaded that yet, on the website, it's the unplannedmomschool.com. Exactly as it sounds. The links are in the show notes, but there is a goals and habits guide for free on my website, and it's just really got some basic things to kind of get your wheels spinning if you are looking to incorporate some new changes and habits to ultimately push the needle and start making you reach your goals and get you to where you want to go faster. So grab that guide over on the Unplanned Mom School podcast, or on unplannedmomschool.com. Follow us on social if you aren't already, and of course message me with questions, maybe content that you would like to hear, things that you really like, maybe you want me to elaborate on, or just reach out if you're interested in doing any group coaching or one-on-one coaching, or just inquiring or sharing with what's going on with your life. I love hearing it all, as I'm just still in this infancy stages of my business. What I love telling everybody is I'm building things out, and just really figuring out what it is that you need, what you're looking for, and how I can best support you. So again, just thank you for being here. And I really, truly do pray for you. I think about you and just love it whenever I do finally get to meet you and hear from you. It just warms my heart. So I am wishing you all the very best, and am always rooting for you, and hope to see you next week.